On today's episode of the Cryptoverse. Today I would like to talk to you about EOS and a bunch of news that's come out about it recently. Again, tons of requests for EOS content, and I talked about the different blend between EOS content and non-EOS content, but many people wanted EOS content, so today that's what it's going to be. Before we do that though, a quick follow-up from yesterday. Yes, I did install the Zap Lightning wallet on my desktop computer, and it behaved exactly like it did on my laptop, right? It just gets to the syncing screen, and that's where it sits. I left it for like a few hours, just minimized it, got on with other work, but still no change. So we'll have to revisit the Zap Wallet app at a later date when it's undergone some further software development. So still a bit buggy, still in beta. Now, if you know of any other Bitcoin Lightning wallet, then please let me know. Please tweet at me. My Twitter handle is at chrisjsconey, which stands for Chris Coney International. And it's Coney like Coney Island, C-O-N-E-Y. And just bear in mind that I run Windows 10 on my desktop computer and I run an Apple smartphone. Now, one piece of advice from a subscriber yesterday, I said, what happens when you create a new wallet and you write down your 24-word recovery phrase, but then it asks you only to confirm 3 of the words? What happens if you've written the other words down incorrectly? Well, a subscriber called Monkeytron wrote in and said the best thing to do is create the new wallet, write down the 24-word phrase, then immediately delete the wallet, and then restore it using the whole 24-word phrase. So that way, if the words are wrong, well, you find out before putting any money in the wallet. You find out immediately. And I think that's an absolutely excellent approach. And just one final note about commenting and interacting with me like this Monkeytron did. So I start the process of making each episode by reading the comments from the previous day. But that's the only time I check the comments on that particular episode, purely due to time constraints. So I don't go back more than 24 hours. So that means if you post a comment after more than 24 hours, I'm unlikely to see it. So once an episode is 24 hours old, that means I'm probably not going to see any comments you post on there. Also, if I reply to you by, say, asking you a question, and then you reply back, I'm unlikely to see that as well, right? So in this case, it's always best to tweet at me. So it's at chrisjsconey on Twitter. That way I'll get a notification. I get notifications on YouTube, but there's just so many of them. I get hundreds a day, so that's not really going to work. But if you do it on Twitter, then everyone gets the benefit. Everyone will be able to see it. And even beyond my own followers, because that's the beauty of Twitter. Everyone gets to see the public tweets, not just people who are following me, right? Right, now on to the topic of the day, which is a roundup of EOS news. So item 1, according to EOSnetworkmonitor.io, that's EOSnetworkmonitor.io, that's the URL. So the EOS network has just set a new personal record of 3,708 transactions per second, which is still less than half a percent of its theoretical capacity. So it's still only using an absolute fraction of its potential. Now, the reason this kind of thing is newsworthy, in my mind, is that each time it sets a new personal best, well, the number goes from being theoretical to being empirical. So proven, right, in a real-world experiment. And over the last 7 days, according to blocktivity.info, EOS has averaged 7.5 million transactions a day, making it the most active blockchain in the world. Now, yes, we've hit 3,708 transactions per second, but let's be fair, it only needs to do that for 1 second in order to prove itself, right? So it's not a sustained 3,708 transactions for a whole day, because if you did the math on that, that would be many hundreds of millions of transactions in a day. So you can do it. You can do 7.5 million transactions in a day, divided by 24 hours, divided by 60 minutes, divided by 60 seconds, and then you'll get the average transactions per second, given 7.5 million transactions a day. In any case, even with a 7-day average of 7.5 million transactions per day, that makes EOS the most active blockchain in the world. Now, I understand that's not an entirely fair statement either, since we can't assume that's all real world app usage. We can't currently prove that. But it's only a matter of time before someone, say one of the block producers, develops a tool, like a website that we can go to, which lists where the usage is coming from. There are several apps or web apps that run on Ethereum, not running on Ethereum, but they pull information out of the Ethereum network that do a similar thing. So like Etherscan does this, not Etherscan, the ETH gas station, the ETH gas station website, they will show you like today which smart contracts are burning the most gas. So you'll be able to see like IDEX, the decentralized exchange, and how much of the network capacity that's using, and then CryptoKitties and yada, yada, yada. The good thing about that is that you can then prove how much of the Ethereum network capacity is being used by real Ethereum apps, right? At the minute, we don't know what's going on with EOS, and there are some test apps like is it Block Twitter? I think there's this little very basic app on EOS where you can, do Twitter on the blockchain. And for a while there, I saw someone was just repeatedly submitting a transaction on Block Twitter that just said "We love Bytemaster," which is Dan Larimer, the one of the creators of EOS. So someone can do that. If you've got enough EOS tokens, even I could do 3,708 transactions a second just purely by repeating that tweet, on Block Twitter 3,000 odd times a second. So I'm just being fair. I'm a mad EOS fan. Everyone knows that. But at the same time, objectivity is the order of the day. So what we need is one of those, someone, I don't know, I don't have the expertise to do this. We need someone to create a website, a block explorer type site that lists, who's the most active smart contract on the EOS network today, who is it, what is it, and so on. And then we can see a pie chart and see if 7 million out of those 7.5 million transactions is just nonsense being posted on Block Twitter or not. But we'll see. But in any case, it does prove the capacity of the network. That's one thing we can take away from that. So following on from that, let's go to item 2. An Ethereum project called Medipedia, it's called, not Mediapedia, Medipedia. They've just published a new blog post called "Why Did Medipedia Move from ERC20 to EOS?" ERC20 is the one of the most popular token standards on Ethereum. So if you want to build a cryptocurrency on top of Ethereum, you can use the ERC20 standard, and then it makes it compatible with all other ERC20 tools and tokens. So this isn't one of those speculative pieces of news, because the project itself is publicly declaring they are moving from Ethereum to EOS, and why. And just briefly, the reasons they give are transaction speed, like we just mentioned, no transaction costs for the user, since it's very trivial for the developers to cover the transaction costs by buying EOS tokens and holding them. That then allows users of their app to use it for free without having to worry about holding EOS. And the third reason was scalability. And if you're interested, Medipedia, what the project is, they intend to apply blockchain technology to bring transparency to the medical tourism industry. Well, that's an excellent application in my opinion. If you've never heard that phrase before, medical tourism, that's like, in the UK, for example, dentistry is a big reason why people use medical tourism. So someone goes to get some dental implants, they get quoted like, 1,000 to 1,500 pounds for a single dental implant. And they go, wow, I need like 5 of them. Let's have a look at the prices in Poland, say. And they go, well, it's like a fraction of the cost. So people will spend the money flying to Poland and then having the dental work done there, and even including all the travel costs to go there and back. The treatment is so much cheaper that it works out cheaper overall, right? The downside of medical tourism is, for example, what if you need aftercare, or if the person you use in the foreign country ends up being completely messing up the work, right? Or they're a terrible professional. That's a problem. So how do you know they're any good and all the rest of it? So bringing transparency to that, like ratings and are these people who they say they are? Do they have the correct credentials in dentistry and yada yada? Not just dentistry either. That's just one of the ones that came to my mind as quite popular tourism in the UK, because there's a lot of private dentistry in the UK, despite the fact we have a public health service. I haven't used a public dentist in so long. I just don't really think of dentistry as being a public health service anymore. But anyway, when they, dentistry can get expensive, and especially for people like in America where most of it's privatized. People go to Mexico for medical tourism and that sort of stuff. So applying blockchain technology to that to bring transparency and confidence and giving the information up front to hold these people accountable for providing good quality medical care, great application in my opinion. So they developed it on Ethereum, and they were saying, the slow network and the capacity issues, they could put up with them as long as they were in just the early development phase. But when they're ready to get serious now and start scaling up in the real world, it's not going to work on Ethereum at this current time. So that's why they're moving to EOS. Item number 3. So EOS is getting listed on Poloniex. You probably already know that by now. But remember that Poloniex is owned by Circle since February, and Circle is owned by Goldman Sachs as of sometime last year, I think it was, in 2017. Now, according to Cypherglass, who are an EOS block producer, Circle's asset listing framework is very similar to that of Coinbase. And that means the framework includes a lot of considerations with regards to regulatory compliance. So this asset listing framework is designed to be like a checklist that ensures you don't list something that would later be considered a security, which then comes back to bite you in the bum. So the message coming through here to me is that EOS is safe to trade in the USA, according to Circle, and by extension, Goldman Sachs. And given that the framework is very similar to the one that Coinbase uses, who knows, we could see EOS listed on Coinbase. That's just my wild speculation, by the way. I'm just saying, logically, if it passes the test for Circle and Coinbase have a very similar criteria, well, the chances of Coinbase approving EOS for listing, if they ever decided to consider it, are quite high, given this piece of news. But wait for it, there's more. To round this off, the guy who wrote this asset listing framework and the checklist, Lee Schneider, his name is, he was recruited by Block One 4 months ago to be the head of their legal counsel. And Block One are the primary developers, the core developers of EOS. So the guy who wrote the framework now works for the core developers of EOS as their chief lawyer. So I'll let your imagination run wild on that one. And then item 4 here, the Chintai app, which is for renting out your EOS tokens for passive income. It's due to be launched in its first version on the 21st of August, which will finally deliver on one of the earliest promises of EOS, which is to generate cash flow by staking your EOS tokens and then lending out your network capacity to developers. So for example, if a developer wants to borrow some network resources, say for a 30-day period, just so they can test launch an application, or they can rent your network capacity for a month without having to commit their capital to buying and staking those tokens and then taking on the risk of the price movements going up or down while they're holding them. If they can just pay for a month's worth of EOS network usage, that's it. They've paid the fee and they've got no capital risk whatsoever. They're literally just paying for the service and they don't expect anything back from that other than the service that they bought, right? They don't expect a return on investment in terms of getting more EOS back. So there's a great long article about this. It's if you go to medium.com, which is like a blog platform. If you go to medium.com /@David Kalin, it's Kalin, and then the number 44, then you'll find this longer article that goes into great detail about the August launch of Chintai. And that's all I've got for you today. So if you thought this episode was absolutely terrible, you can hit that button. But if you liked it, hit the like button, get subscribed, and even grab yourself a discount coupon for any one of my online courses, which you will find down in the video description. Also down there is a link to my Twitter profile, where you should absolutely totally follow me. And if you've got a bit more time to check out another episode, check out yesterday's episode where I did a first look of the Zap Bitcoin Lightning wallet app. Other than that, I will be back with the next episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.